Welcome everybody to episode 145 of the show. This is our second episode in a row here in person in Pacific Beach in San Diego, California. Now this is Chris's upstairs balcony room where he literally has a view of the Pacific Ocean. Not sure how much you can see in the back, but we'll get some footage of the ocean after this. And you went body surfing earlier again today.
I did. Had another good day. I mean, luckily the deals on hotels are pretty good. That's one of not that many upsides of the pandemic.
Right.
Right next to the beach. And this morning took a bunch of supplements, ginseng, Supreme Creation by Dragon Herbs, which you turned me on to. All of that good, if bizarre stuff. A bunch of adaptogens, had some longevity tea and a little bit of black coffee. And then I went down there on pretty much otherwise an empty stomach and just went body surfing for about 40 minutes. Went for a walk on the beach, did a little bit of shadow boxing, tried not to scare anyone or make them think I was out of my mind, but got a good little workout. And I think the water's around 60 degrees. So maybe it feels like high 50s. My app tells me it's 60, but I don't know if I believe it. But yeah, feel phenomenal. And there's definitely something to that boost and I'm sure various neurotransmitters that you get from going in the water. And it's almost like having a cup of coffee without having a cup of coffee. And if you have any aches and pains, which oddly I tend to get some aches and pains when I work out less. So this has been a period this last few days of not working out quite as much or as hard as I normally would. I'm not doing 3-hour MMA workouts. I'm letting my body recover. But for some reason that always results in me having, waking up with a backache or whatever. So I had a little bit of a lower back thing. I think I might have slept a little bit twisted up. Could also be TMS, something I'm not even aware of. But after that body surfing session, just felt totally invincible.
There was something that came up where, are you type O blood?
I don't know, and I should know.
I bet you are.
Yeah, I'm actually getting that tested soon. I've been working with a functional medicine doctor for several months at this point, and we've done a gut optimization and liver optimization. I wouldn't say repair because there's nothing specifically I'm repairing, but milk thistle, NAC, a bunch of different compounds for gut health and getting rid of any dysbiosis that might be in there, oregano oil, clove oil, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm ready to do blood work soon. I hope that all the really good Mexican food that I've had, including tortillas, which I don't usually eat, doesn't screw up my blood work. But we will see, and I'm also going to figure out what blood type I am.
It's just a testament to, so what, you got like around 6 years now off alcohol, right?
Over 6 years.
Over 6 years. That's a testament to the power of consistency. As long as I've known you, what, has it been about 4 years now?
Yeah.
4 years. I've rarely seen you eat any kind of like junk stuff. Like you're usually on point with nutrition, with exercise. So then over 6 years of doing all of that stuff, and then this is what you get. Whereas a lot of people will feel they won't get a bunch of progress at the beginning. Maybe they have a lot more work to do. Maybe they're older. Maybe they have health problems. Maybe they're on multiple substances. But a lot of people will just give up or kind of get caught up and get stuck because it seems like such a far way to go, and it just seems like it'll take forever. And in the day, it's like, that's just going to be so hard and so long. So they'll drink or they'll keep doing drugs. But the consistency, I wrote an article the other day, and it was towards the end, it was like recovering from addiction is usually pretty hard, but it is so worth it. It's like, I mean, if someone is in a state of being addicted to any substance or any behavior, then that's really like the ultimate thing to just focus on as much as you can. And I know people have work, people have children and responsibilities, so it comes down to strategizing. And we talked about this last time, writing on paper. Sometimes these long projects are just that long. It might be a marathon or triathlon length before you get totally healed, but there's nothing more worth it. I mean, if the alternative is to be stuck in addiction, or your other alternative is to go through the short-term pain to get to where we are today, and like 6 weeks after I quit heroin, I felt great. That's because I was using the right supplements. So people can do it, and we got a loud truck going by right now, so we'll talk.
That's
a little
our
louder.
luck.
And
It's all right.
You go, Chris.
But I don't think anyone's going to sit down next to us today like they did yesterday. But knock on wood. Yeah, I think there's also a personality factor involved. There's a lot made in popular culture and in like magazines about like finding balance or work-life balance. I've honestly never had much balance, which might surprise people. But what I mean by that is on a day-to-day basis, I'm usually obsessed with something. And most of the time I'm obsessed with MMA. I'm obsessed with my businesses and fit recovery and make sure this podcast is going well and the supplement. And I'm pretty cute into those things. I guess you could say I have balance between my working out and my work stuff. But then when I go on vacation, and this is kind of a work vacation in a sense because we're doing podcasts and I'm not off the grid totally, but I'm eating burritos. I had some sugary non-alcoholic cocktail the other night with dinner. I'm maybe going to bed a little bit later than I otherwise would, and I have more of a free sense of life, I suppose. So I feel like I need several times a year to like get that sense of life out of my system, and then I come back to being obsessed with my stuff and I feel refreshed. So I guess maybe I have balance compared to when I was a drinker, when I had no balance whatsoever. But I feel like you can't really cure yourself if you're a type A person. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not an affliction. It's not a disease. But at the most for me, I think what I can hope for is that I can have periods. Maybe it's a weekend at home when I'm not even on vacation, but I have to literally consciously give myself permission to take some time out from the day-to-day process, which I otherwise really love. I love the day-to-day process. I'm never not looking forward to going to MMA, never not looking forward to going to the gym, never not looking forward to doing coaching calls or helping people in my online course or helping Coach Tana or talking to you. I love my business.
I hope you're not looking.
Of course not.
Fucking
I absolutely love all of it.
Gotta talk to this.
But every now and then, it's like I have to give myself permission to go into a different zone. And that's one reason I like coming out here. It's like an anchor for me for being a little bit more carefree. There's something about the vibe out here as well. People are just on rollerblades and skating around and they're happy. There are people on skateboards. There are people surfing. Everyone looks super chill. And I really like that.
Yeah, here when you come to a place like this, it is very easy to go eat burritos and tacos and burgers and go swimming in the ocean and go walking on the beach and not worrying about anything else. And yeah, I'm like that a lot too. I read this one awesome book called The Power of Full Engagement. It was written quite a long time ago too, but it was on teaching people how to be fully in the present moment. Like I used to have this horrible problem. When I first started blogging, I was so addicted to it. It was so fun. I'd be hanging out with my girlfriend at the time, wishing I was blogging. No matter what I was doing, I'd come up with all these ideas. Oh, I got a great idea for this, a great idea for that. And that destroyed our relationship because I was like not present ever. And it was really bad. It was like, so reading that book and then years of practice, because I think I'm a type A personality, but I definitely can get into workaholism big time. I can get into caffeine addiction if I'm not careful big time, because I like to go, be productive. And it's hard to relax too. So I think now that I'm 41, it's getting easier to relax. Whereas before, when I had so much energy, I could never turn my brain off. But
you've made a lot of progress though in the last year alone. I mean, tackling the caffeine dependence that was creeping up on you. You had that detox period. I've never seen you as relaxed as you seem now. Even the last time that I saw you, I think that was like a year ago.
God, was it that long ago?
You were a little bit, I don't know, you seemed like higher, more charged in a way.
Yeah, I was drinking probably 1,200 to 1,500 milligrams of caffeine.
Exactly. And I think, things like that, it's evidence, because you've obviously come a long way from being addicted to opiates and multi-drug addiction and alcohol and all of that.
Garbage.
So there's a process here. There are multiple non-linear adventures or journeys that you go on, right? And so one of them is going from being heroin addict who's overdosing and almost dying to realizing that you have to be there for your daughter and that there are better things in life to do. But even years after that, you're still struggling sometimes with a little too much coffee, a little bit of workaholism. So you're never perfect. I think that is one of the dangers of conflating those things as just equivalent cross addictions, right? So someone would say, well, if you switch from alcohol to exercise, it's just as bad because you haven't whatever it is, you haven't surrendered, or and I think there are better and worse dependencies to have. Whether something is an addiction or not depends on whether there are negative consequences. And then it's almost a tautology, right? Because then anything with harmful consequences is harmful. I had a little conversation about that with someone the other day. How do we define addiction? And technically it's something that you're using to regulate your nervous system or regulate your emotions, your thoughts, or as a coping mechanism that has harmful consequences. But why would you even need the first part of that definition? If something has harmful consequences, then it's not good, whether or not you're using it. I use exercise. This morning I used body surfing to regulate my nervous system. I had a burrito the other night to regulate my nervous system.
Dropped your cortisol levels because all the carbs.
Very good coping mechanism for hunger. And I find that eating is generally a good coping mechanism for hunger, and I'm addicted to it. But there aren't any harmful consequences unless I'm eating too many tortillas. At least tortillas made with American wheat with all that GMO Roundup stuff in it and too much gluten and gliadin. But anyway, I digress. I think the thing here is that you're always trying to improve. Yeah. You'll always have a struggle at hand. But I think the goal is for, in a long-term sense, to
get better problems.
To have better, higher quality problems, and to feel like you're more equipped to handle them, and that the problems are generally more manageable than they were before.
This is a good part to throw in some Jim Rohn quotes. Don't wish things were easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less challenges, wish for more wisdom. Don't wish for something, wish for more skills. The guy's got the best quotes. For things to change, you have to change. The Jim Rohn quotes are great, and it reminds me too of, there was another quote, I won't even paraphrase it, but it's along the lines of, life is just a series of problems. It's kind of like a school, and you don't move on in life until you learn the lesson from each one. That's why I was stalled in my growth and just totally on drugs and alcohol for so long, because I wouldn't learn any of the lessons. I didn't care. I didn't really know what life was about. I was kind of clueless. I was like, what the heck? I had a really malfunctioning brain back then, and I don't even know if it was genetics or what, but it was bad. And so that's what I've realized now. I used to get pissed off when more problems. Oh, great, now my shoulder hurts. Oh, great, now I can't do this. Oh, great, this happened to the business. Oh, man. And I would get pissed off with these problems. But that was like all the way up to maybe 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago. And then I realized, okay, problems don't stop coming. They're not going to stop. Don't. They're probably not going to stop coming. And so I better quit being a little whiner and better start focusing more on the solution and actually feel blessed to have these problems, because, all right, here's another problem. Now I get to get better, get more skills, more wisdom, grow from it. Then the next problem that comes, it'll be easier, and the next one will be easier, and that creates neuroplasticity, all those overcoming challenges and learning from them and then teaching other people how to do it. That grows our brain and makes us happier just by the way we think. People will be like, oh, what supplements do I got to take? Yes, supplements are great. I think they were my higher power at the beginning for the first few years, supplements and exercise. But then
I thought the force was your higher power.
That was the force was the higher power at the beginning. Then it was the supplements. Okay. Once I got on those. The force was when I was 24 and I went to AA for the first time. And I was
nothing but Star Wars.
Yeah, I was on the dark side of the force and I wanted to be on the light side of the force. But then I realized that AA, these people aren't Jedis. They're, at least at the meetings that I went to, I didn't get a whole lot out of a lot of the meetings, and I was like, there's got to be something better than this. It wasn't holistic. It wasn't empowering. It was disgusting. Just these uncomfortable chairs with tons of cigarette smoke and nasty coffee and cake and donuts. It didn't seem like a healthy, holistic place for me to go and change my life. Mm-hmm. I was like, this doesn't, I don't see how it's going to do this for me personally. I could see how it resonated with other people, I could see a lot of people that didn't have family around, or they were, kind of their family had blew them off because of alcohol or drugs or whatever. So seemed like a lot of people really loved the fellowship about it, but I didn't like any of the people there enough to want to hang out with them, except for one person. That was my sponsor, who I still talk to this day. He's not my sponsor anymore, but he's cool because he was non-judgmental for the most part.
Yeah, I found it's a place where I could go in the earliest phase of recovery where no one judged me, and people could relate. And that was important, not being judged, knowing you're not alone, and having people who relate to exactly what you say is very, very useful. And I'm sure it's been a difficult period for people, in the post-COVID world now with meetings. It's probably not the same to have online stuff. And it's funny. I've had a lot of clients and course members who utilize AA and otherwise just want to patch up some missing links in the recovery program, such as often nutrient repair. How do I get my holistic health back? I'm working with my sponsor, but I feel like total crap. What am I supposed to do? And so, there are things that they can do. Be more proactive in the nutrition side or fitness side, and even psychological reframing. You can add that in. And then other people who have just had horrendous experiences with whatever the AA meetings they went to, and I'm pretty transparent about not utilizing AA anymore, but I think at one point in time it was useful to have a place where I could go and just kind of not be in the world of being judged or feeling ashamed of what I'd been through. And of course, right now I never feel like I'm being judged or ashamed, and I don't need to escape.
You don't drink. You're a dork. You're like, I'll destroy you.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah. I had a funny thought on that note. The first time I came here last year, I had an Uber driver who was taking me from the airport to my hotel, and he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I have a website. It's called Fit Recovery, and a podcast." And he was like, "Oh, that's really cool." He said, "I've been going to AA for 15 years." And he said, "Yeah." He's like, "That's what I do for my sobriety. I have two things. I have AA and I smoke weed." And I was like, "Wow, well, that's fascinating." And I said, "Don't you think that would be kind of against the abstinence?" And then he said, No, that's the medicine man." And so it just occurred to me that would be controversial in most places. Maybe not San Diego. Maybe AA is a little different here, or whatever group he goes to. But there are so many ways to. And he seemed to be fine. I'm not arrogant enough to think that I know so much about addiction or his particular situation that he should never utilize the compounds in marijuana. I mean, we can suspend that thought and simultaneously recognize that THC can be addictive and probably destructive in excess.
Oh yeah,
but I'm not going
to memory up if you use it too much.
For sure. But who's to say that he hasn't found his particular custom regimen of sorts? Maybe he hasn't. I don't know. But it was just an interesting thing because I had thought that there was a sort of not monolithic quality necessarily, but at least some universal principles of AA. And there seem to be, but there seems to be leeway as well depending on where you go.
Yeah, I didn't get that leeway. I remember going to a meeting, gosh, this must have been maybe around the age of 25. It was when I had a whole year off of alcohol. But the way I got that was Valiums every once in a while, weed every once in a while, Percocets every once in a while, just nothing but no alcohol and no crystal meth and no crack. Those things. So like pills and weed were fine at that point at least. And I remember going to a meeting and someone comes up to me that knew me and they're like, "Hey man, can I talk to you?" And he brings me outside and he goes, "Hey, I'm hearing some rumors. I just want to make sure they're not true." And he goes, "Are you on the M&M program?" I'm like, "What's that?" He goes, "Marijuana maintenance." Like, what does that even mean? Do I smoke pot all day, every day? No. Do I smoke it sometimes? Yes. And then I got totally like, they didn't want me coming there anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Desire to stop drinking is the only requirement for membership.
Huh.
I wasn't drinking. They said they probably shouldn't come to this meeting anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never had any experience with exclusionary people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's odd because the desire to stop drinking you can have.
Yeah.
But even if you're still drinking, you keep going to meetings.
You can even
right?
go. You're just
Okay.
not supposed to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what.
Interesting. I didn't
there's
know
just
that.
so many different rules, and like people would crosstalk, and then I heard nowadays, not only are there the AA police, but there's also the PC police, the politically correct police. So you have the AA police going, oh, that's over 3 minutes, or hey, no cross sharing. When you got the PC police going, oh, you can't use that pronoun. Or,
Heteronormative.
yeah.
That sounds like fun.
It just sounds like yeah.
Well, to each their own.
Yeah, not
what
to-
I say, live and let live.
Yeah, there's probably some. I'm sure there's amazing meetings, and I even wrote this in my article the other day too. Is AA is great for the people that think it's great, but it's not for everyone. Certainly not for everyone.
All right.
Look at us. We don't have to go to a meeting. We don't have to go call our sponsor right now. What are we doing?
Honestly, I quit finance in part because I hated meetings, and I did not like meetings. That was one of the big conflicts. I thought that was back when I was still a bit nihilistic in early recovery. I said, this is a hilarious joke that God's playing on me. All of my withdrawal-induced breakdowns, panic attacks, were usually in the midst of some allegedly important meeting with some executives in some high room where I had to look. I also had whenever I would have bad withdrawal anxiety, I would somehow develop a fear of heights, which was really inconvenient because I was usually on like the 50th floor of some tower in Manhattan, and I'd look down and I'm like, oh no, and then I'd look behind me and there's a bunch of judgmental people in suits. It was just the worst of all possible worlds, and I did not want to be having the spins or however I felt at that time. So I was like, this is a hilarious joke that I have. I can quit those meetings, but now I have to go to a different kind of meetings for the rest of my life.
No more meetings.
Or at least that's what I was told. Yeah, so thank God, no more meetings. Now I kind of enjoy, oddly, I enjoy having meetings that I want to have.
Yeah.
Like you and I, this is kind of a meeting in a way.
It is.
I've been lucky enough to meet with my private coaching clients when I've been traveling before.
Sweet.
I went and gave a speech in Dallas last January, right before the pandemic, at Tricia Lewis's Recovery Happy Hour Retreat. I talked about biochemical repair. We had a great time.
That's a great video, which is
Yeah,
on your
thank you.
YouTube
It's on
channel
YouTube.
too.
Yeah, a condensed version of it. We had a long Q&A, and I think I cut the video a bit on the YouTube version, but yeah, check it out. I think it's called How I Stopped Drinking by Repairing My Brain or something like that. But anyway, I also on that trip I had a client who lived in the area, and we had a nice like breakfast meeting. And I like to meet with people now. It's kind of like the more advanced you get on the recovery and optimization journey, the more control you feel like you have over your life and your time and your schedule. And of course, I feel like that's now a dirty word. You're not supposed to have control. You're not supposed to desire control over anything. But I've honestly found that my happiness correlates with the level of control that I have over my schedule specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably where most, at least Americans, could totally change their lives. Go through a day and record everything you do during the 24 hours. What time you were asleep from, and then what you did throughout the day and how many hours and minutes that sucked up. And then when you tally that up, it is going to make you look in the mirror, and you're going to have to look at yourself and go, do I want to keep doing this stuff every day? Because most people are just wasting all day, every day, or most of the days. Mm-hmm. People are just, if you wake up, so if I wake up and don't get in the shower and start getting my planner out and stuff, then I might take a few hours to get at it. So I try to get up, brush my teeth, shower, get out, and then get tea, get my planner. And then I can actually go, okay, what do I want to get done? And I plan in good stuff too. After I'm done doing all this work and errands, and then I can plan something fun, like put this in, or go treat myself to a nice walk in nature or something. But until people start taking control of their schedule and their time, and have awareness of all the time you're wasting on stuff that, and you can still watch TV and all that stuff too, but the average American watches 7 hours of TV a day.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
understand how that's possible. The average? That means some people watch way more. Mm-hmm. 7 hours is the average an American watches television. That is messed up. That's like
right. Well, I think a big problem is that a lot of people, and I was in this category once, a lot of people don't like the things that their schedules consist of. So there's no excitement, there's no motivation. And if that's the case, you have one of two problems. The first is either that You would enjoy it if you had a balanced biochemistry and you're just anhedonic, a biochemical problem, and supplementation and better sleep and exercise and returning to the basics can all help with that, reducing stress, or you're actually doing things that kind of suck, and you have no real spiritual connection to your career or your job. Or at the very least, it's not a stepping stone to something that you want to do, so you can't motivate yourself. And you don't have things that make you feel like you're optimizing your place in the universe, I guess. Whether it's in your family, or your town, or your country, or doing something for the world. Mm-hmm. If there's no spiritual connection to the things you do on a daily basis, that's a problem. And so you can approach it either from the biochemical side, and then if you optimize your biochemistry and you still hate everything that you do, then just move. Like my biggest barrier was I knew that I hated finance, but I thought that I had to do it because I had to make money.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing for people. And I didn't realize that I was selling myself short by thinking that the only way to make money was to work in finance, and that I needed that niche for whatever reason. And that was the farthest thing from the truth ever. I think if someone is hey,
we're podcasting up here, y'all quiet down.
The most tragic thing someone can do is assume that they don't have the ability to simultaneously do something they love doing and make a living doing it.
So you were talking about work-life balance earlier, and what you've done and what I've done and what a lot of people have done, work-life integration, where it's like work with people that because you're working with people that you love and all sorts of stuff. And I think I learned that from Tony Robbins, work-life integration. So his wife, Sage, goes on stage and does stuff with him in programs, and that's fun to be able to. My parents do that. My mom and dad have been running their business self-heal school of herbal studies and healing for I think around 35 years, maybe even longer. And they've just integrated that into their life. They've integrated the work together. They even run their business out of their home.
That's
so
great.
It's like all. And I think some of my best decisions ever in life were quitting jobs that were just, money's one thing, but if a job or a career is totally stressing you out, it might be time to ask yourself, like, is there something else that I could possibly do? When I gave my 2 weeks notice as a substance abuse counselor at a methadone clinic, and then on the 14th day after I gave that notice, which is my last day, when I got my stuff packed, I had like a lamp and a pitcher and a plant, and drove off literally into the sunset. It was like 5:45 or something, and the sun was setting. It was the winter in California, late winter. And I was driving off, and it was just like, oh my gosh. And I knew I was never going to be a counselor again. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is not what I thought it was going to be. So driving off there was like, oh, I chickened out for 6 months. And then I finally did that. Had I not done that, had I been like, well, I went to school for this. I paid money to go to school. I got certified. This is a stable job. But had I had that mentality, I'd still be doing that. And I'd probably be making at this point 18 to maybe $20 an hour. And I'd have a huge caseload, never-ending paperwork, rules, regulations, just tons of stress. Mm-hmm. And had I not made that decision, which was a big risk too, that was a pretty big risk. I had a secure job, good health insurance. I did like the people that I worked with. And then there have been other major things too, major decisions. And I think a lot of people nowadays are scared to make those big decisions. Mm-hmm. They can be real scary, but sometimes just doing something that sounds real scary, like a Hail Mary, like if somebody's been trying to quit for ages and ages and they haven't been able to, well, why don't you just get in your car or have someone drop you off hours away at a campground where there's no civilization close, with a whole bunch of food and water and medicines and supplements and stuff, and like a cabin or even a tent or something, and then tell them to come pick you up in 3 weeks or something. Exactly. Like a Hail Mary, to where you have no access to any of the substances. That can work. That can work real well. And it might not even be like, screw it, I'm just going to get on a plane and go somewhere, and then stay at a hotel and just do this. But it could be some other type of big decision that people are putting off for a long time. It's again, going back to putting things out on paper. What would be the potential outcome of making that big decision? What would be the long range outcome? So there's strategies and tools and ways to figure out how to get unstuck, to make these big decisions that could be the only thing that's preventing you from changing your life, is one decision that you need to make but you haven't been making.
For sure. I think, for me, when I quit, well, it was kind of a mutual. When my company quit me and I quit the company, the last finance job I had, I went right into part-time personal training while trying to figure out how to, do blogging, essentially. A year later,
It's a good story.
I was still struggling with the blog. No one was reading my stuff. But I was doing part-time training, and that was a stepping stone job for me. But that was a stepping stone job that I knew was actually something that would bring me to where I wanted to be. I had a leap of faith there because, even as I said, even after a year of doing the online thing, I had very little to show for it in terms of audience. But I just had tremendous faith that I would figure it out and that I wouldn't be a personal trainer forever. But honestly, some of my best memories are from that period of being fairly poor, doing personal training part-time, making half, maybe $30 for 30-minute sessions, and then the gym would take half of that. So it was
low.
I was making $12 or $13 an hour sometimes.
After working in finance.
It was working in finance. Yeah. But it was just barely enough. And I was making new friends. I was going on some coffee dates.
Getting buff.
I was getting buff. I had a gym at my disposal, and I had this blog that I really believed in, more than I rationally should have, probably. And everyone thought I was insane because I was I won't be doing personal training forever. I have this website. It's called Fit Recovery. It's actually Fit-Recovery because I'm too poor to buy the Fit Recovery. And so everyone was like, yeah, okay, good for you. Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Oh, okay.
And then sure enough, a few years later, and the obsession just went on. Eventually it yielded results for me because you kind of figure things out as it goes on. It's very rare, I think, for someone to switch from one thing to something they really want to do, and 3 weeks later they're fulfilled and rich and happy. And no, there is a struggle and a journey, but it makes the end result whenever you get there, whether it's 6 months later or 6 years later, it makes it so worthwhile. And then you almost have nostalgia for the struggle along the way. And I've confused a lot of people, I think, in my online course by saying that some of my best memories in life are from early recovery. Even though I was tortured at the time by intermittent panic attacks and insomnia, and trying to figure out the supplement dosages and reading studies and books and all that. And there was a tremendous sense of uncertainty. But A, it was so much better than the constant impending doom that I had while drinking. And B, I knew that I was going somewhere. The only place I could go was up from where I was. And there was something liberating about that.
Yeah, it's so crazy how our paths were very, very similar, and then they wove together to create this. The substance abuse counseling gig, that was my stepping stone to my website too, is where I cut my teeth and learned how to help people with addiction. But the same thing happened to me when I started my blog. I had quit being a counselor. I had started to learn marketing, business, and internet stuff to help my parents. And then I decided that I wanted to just start blogging just on the side. Really just to get an audience, and then to, have someone to read a book that I was going to write. And so that's really all it was. It wasn't to, do it forever. But that's what it turned into. So I was so obsessed with building this website. Everyone, my mom especially, several of my friends, nobody believed me. They either said so, or you could see it in their eyes and body language, Matt has fallen for one of those get-rich-quick schemes. He read a book on make money on the internet, and now he's going to, he quit his counseling job, and now he's just wasting all his time on this blog. He's not going to hang out with friends or stuff. I was so focused for a long time there. But within 1 year of blogging like that, I had already far surpassed the measly $15 an hour I was making as a counselor. So 12 months of hard work that I loved. It was wonderful stuff. I loved building the website, writing articles and learning WordPress and all that. So it paid off, and then I have this income producing asset, a website. And what's really funny is most of the people that told me I couldn't do it, they all came, how are you making money? How are you doing this? Can you teach me how to do it? Mm-hmm. And so I would teach a bunch of people that at first they were kind of like toxic dream stealers, TDSs, kind of like STD, but different. So you can't listen to the toxic dream stealers. If you've got belief in yourself and a vision, it's your vision. Who cares what other people say? That's your vision. It's not theirs. So that's what I learned. But that anger to prove those people wrong, I should actually go back and thank all of those people that said that, especially my mom. She just didn't understand how. She would go, oh, I don't think you're going to, I don't like it. I don't think it's going to.
I think it's a mom thing, too.
Yeah.
I had my mom
Your
calling
mom?
me up about openings at bank branches and things, and nothing against bank branches. But I was in high finance, and I was stuck up about it for a little while. But I was like, Mom, you don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to build, I'm trying to help people, and I'm trying to, create an income-producing asset that allows me to spend my time helping people forever. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, and so I really should thank her, because it was the wanting to prove, and that drove me for several years. The first many years of early recovery was all ego stuff, like trying to prove myself, because I had been a kind of dirtbag and not successful at all in life. And then all of a sudden I was getting all this success, and pretty much everything I did, I had the Midas touch. It all turned to gold, at least for a while, until that went away. And then I realized, oh shit started to hit the fan. The first few years for me were easy. Then I started to have crazy toxic relationships, relationship addiction, workaholism, caffeine addiction, like food addiction. So after those first few years of nothing but just awesomeness, everything I did worked out, then I really had to work some stuff out and grow. I spent all those beginning years counseling people for a couple of years, and then coaching people and helping friends and family out with business stuff and with addiction. So those first several years, I went right into counseling and helping other people, and I never worked on any of my shit. I mean, I did, because I was reading so many personal development books and going to seminars, so that was working on myself. But a lot of the stuff I was learning, I was using to help other people. So I really think that I had all this stuff repressed for years and years and years, and then eventually it just came out. And I went through some hard times, but yeah, I'd say for the past couple of years, maybe 2 years, especially the last year, I feel like I finally have life figured out. I feel like I'm not addicted to things. I know how to kind of approach life and the mental models that help me in the beliefs. But yeah, always learning, always growing. I love the term KANI, constant and never-ending improvement. But not obsessing about it. Just kind of small incremental improvements, and maybe you backslide a little bit. Maybe you go eat a bunch of burritos and drink a bunch of sugar, non-alcoholic cocktails and do some stuff, but you don't make that the daily thing. It's just the every once in a while thing, rather than burger, burrito, pizza, milkshake every single day like some people do.
I can't do that. I would get sick.
They do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm already kind of looking forward to going back to my old diet, my normal diet, when I get back to Savannah.
Because you feel better on it.
I do, yeah. But I feel really good because of all of the things here. I think that those
packets that we
fantastic.
just drank, they got us going, man.
Yeah, Matt's got us experimenting with some new supplements. I think on that note, it's probably time to plunge into the 60-degree water.
It is too.
Go body surfing a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to go swimming in the ocean. Here, I'm also going to show them right here, because we can get a good... You just tell me. Chris, can you see the ocean like that?
Looks like it. Beautiful.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time.